This is the BBC Live programme. Here is the news.
Here's a 2-minute history of some unexpected deaths in Ambridge, where we learn that in Borsetshire, February is the cruelest month. On the 2nd of February 1957, Tom Forrest caught Bob Larkin poaching on Charles Grenville's land. There was a struggle, a gun went off, and Bob Larkin was killed. Tom Forrest was tried for manslaughter, but acquitted. 30 years later, in 1987, Bob's nephew Jethro Larkin was working with David Archer, trimming trees at Brookfield. A branch that David was cutting came down on Jethro suddenly, and he was unable to jump clear. It hit him on the head, killing him. 2 years before this, on the 10th of February 1985, Polly Perks, the licensee at the Bull, needed to visit the local cash and carry for supplies. She was driving there with her friend Pat Archer in the passenger seat when she hit a slippery patch on the road and skidded into the milk tanker. She was pronounced dead at the scene and buried in St Stephen's churchyard. On 17th of February 1994, Mark Hebden was overtaken by a reckless driver while driving home to Shula. The same driver had spooked the horse that Shula's best friend Caroline Bone was riding, and she had been thrown onto the road. Having swerved to avoid the driver, Mark had to swerve again to avoid hitting Caroline. He lost control of his car and crashed into a tree, dying instantly. On the 24th of February 1998, John Archer asked Hayley Jordan to marry him. She turned him down. The next day, Tony, who was working on the Mainbridge farm tractor, nagged John about a fence he'd promised to mend. In a miserable mood, John used Tony's vintage, cabless Ferguson to drive him to the job. It was Tom's 17th birthday, and when John failed to turn up for the celebratory tea, Tony went out to find him, but discovered only his cold, lifeless body beneath the overturned Fergie. And finally, on the 2nd of January 2011, David Archer and Nigel Pargeter were up on top of Lower Loxley trying to take down a festive banner. The wind got up, one of the slates was loose, and Nigel found himself sliding down the roof before tumbling over and hurtling to his death on the path below, with his landing shaking Ambridge to the core.